Want to speak real Finnish from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at finishpod101.com.
In this lesson, you're going to learn how to introduce yourself in Finnish. So let's get started. We'll first see how Finnish people introduce themselves in an informal situation. Hei, minun nimeni on Paula. Hauska tutustua. Hi, I'm Paula. Nice to meet you. Hei, minun nimeni on Paula. Hauska tutustua. Let's go through this. Start by saying, Hei, minun nimeni on. Then say your name. Hei, minun nimeni on Paula. Finally say, Hauska tutustua. Hei, minun nimeni on Paula. Hauska tutustua. And now let's see the same sentence in formal speech. Hyvää päivää. Minun nimeni on Paula Laamanen. Hauska tutustua. Good day. My name is Paula Laamanen. Nice to meet you. Hyvää päivää. Minun nimeni on Paula Laamanen. Hauska tutustua. So what has changed from the previous introduction? Let's take a close look at these together. Hei has been substituted with the formal greeting Hyvää päivää, Finnish for good day. Minun nimeni on Paula has not been changed. In both cases, minun nimeni on means my name is. However, during a formal self-introduction, we also say our last name, so I said Paula Laamanen. Here you would say your full name. Finally, hauska tutustua is the same for both. This phrase means nice to meet you. One more time. The informal way to introduce yourself in Finnish is Hei, minun nimeni on Paula. Hauska tutustua. You can make it more formal by saying Hyvää päivää. Minun nimeni on Paula Laamanen. Hauska tutustua. Now it's time for Paula's points. When you introduce yourself, it's a good habit to shake hands and use Hauska tutustua after saying your name. If you're concerned about politeness, even hei is polite enough in the Finnish business world. In fact, if you speak too formally, people will think you sound unnatural. In Finland, simple is best. In the last lesson, we learned how to introduce ourselves in Finnish. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to properly thank people. Are you ready? Then let's start. There are several ways to thank someone, but let's start with the easiest. It's just one word. Kiitos. Kiitos. Kiitos means thank you. When saying thank you very much, you just need to add the word paljon. Kiitos paljon. Kiitos paljon. Paljon means a lot, so kiitos paljon is just like saying thank you very much. It doesn't matter if you're trying to be formal or informal. Kiitos will work in both situations, so don't worry. But how do you reply to thank you in Finnish? It's easy. There are basically two ways to do it. The first is ole hyvä. Ole hyvä. Ole hyvä literally means be good, and it's commonly used to reply to thank you, especially when someone thanks you for giving them something. The other way to say you're welcome is the expression ei se mitään. Ei se mitään. Literally, this phrase means nothing or never mind. You use this when you think that there's no need to be thanked, so it's like saying don't mention it. So when someone says kiitos to you, you can simply reply with ole hyvä or ei se mitään. Now it's time for Paula's points. If you're not sure about whether to use kiitos or kiitos paljon, keeping it simple is always your safest bet. You don't have to worry about formal or informal situations. Kiitos can be used with just about anyone, anywhere, and at any time. In the last lesson, we learned how to thank people by saying kiitos. In this lesson, we'll learn some of the most common greetings used in Finland. Ready? Let's get started. The most used informal greeting is hei. Hei. Hei means hi or hello. We use it when we meet people, friends, relatives, and even people we don't know. We used this phrase in lesson 1. Do you remember? Do you also remember what the formal way of greeting people is? Hyvää päivää. Hyvää päivää. Literally, hyvää päivää means good day, As a rule of thumb, we can use hyvää päivää only during the daytime, from midday until early evening. During the evening we say hyvää iltaa. Hyvää iltaa. Ilta is Finnish for evening, so hyvää iltaa means good evening. Hyvää päivää and hyvää iltaa are used when we meet someone, but when we leave we don't say these greetings again. Instead, when leaving in a formal situation, Finnish people say näkemiin. Näkemiin. Näkemiin means goodbye. In informal situations, you can just say hei hei. Hei hei. Finally, in Finnish we have an expression meaning see you soon, which can be either formal or informal. Nähdään pian. Nähdään pian. Now you can greet people in many different ways in Finnish. Let's review them all again. When greeting someone in an informal situation, hei. When greeting someone in a formal situation, hyvää päivää or hyvää iltaa. When leaving in a formal situation, näkemiin. When leaving in an informal situation, hei hei. When leaving, no matter whether it's a formal or informal situation, nähdään pian. It's easy, right? Now it's time for Paula's points. In formal situations, Finnish people commonly greet each other by shaking hands. But if we meet someone we are very friendly with, we hug each other. Don't be afraid to do it with your Finnish friends. It's normal. In the last lesson, we learned the most common forms of greetings in Finnish. Do you remember them? In this lesson, we're going to learn a very useful phrase. Do you speak English? If you find yourself in a situation where you need assistance in English, this phrase can be a lifesaver. And because you're asking it in Finnish, you can be sure that everyone will understand what you're saying, even if their answer is no. Here's the informal way to say it. Puhutko sinä englantia? Puhutko sinä englantia? In Finnish, verbs change depending on the pronoun that is used. This verb, puhua, is conjugated to the second person singular, puhut. Ko is a suffix used to make it a question. It is similar to the English word do here. Puhut refers to sinä, which is the informal way to say you. And I'm sure you recognize englantia as English. Puhutko sinä englantia? To learn how to properly conjugate Finnish verbs like puhua, please look at our Absolute Beginner series on finishpod101.com. There you'll find several detailed grammar lessons. We're now going to make this sentence formal. First, we need to use the formal version of you, which is te. If we change the word for you, we will conjugate puhua differently. It becomes puhutte. Everything else stays the same. Puhutteko te englantia? Puhutteko te englantia? Adding anteeksi, excuse me, makes the sentence even more polite. Anteeksi, puhutteko te englantia? The responses you will receive could be one of these three. Kyllä. Yes. Kyllä. Vähän. A little. Vähän. Ei, en puhu englantia. No, I don't speak English. Ei, en puhu englantia. Since this last one is a negative statement, we need to say ei first, then en before the verb, puhu, and englantia after it. Notice also that the verb, puhu, is slightly different than puhutte. Remember, the verb changes depending on the pronoun used. We are now talking about minä, Finnish for I, so I do not speak is minä en puhu. The negative verb is also slightly different than the affirmative one. Now it's time for Paula's points. For those of you who speak languages other than English, this question still works. Just substitute englantia with a different language. Here are some examples. Italia is Italian, Venäjä is Russian, Espanja is Spanish, and Saksa is German. In this lesson, we are going to take a look at the verb olla, to be. We will also go through how to talk about your nationality. One of the first questions you might be asked in Finland is, mistä sinä olet kotoisin? Where are you from? Mistä is the question from where. And as you might remember from the earlier lessons, sinä is you. Olet is the conjugated form of the verb olla, to be, and kotoisin is another way to say from or be a native of. Altogether it's mistä sinä olet kotoisin. Mistä sinä olet kotoisin. There are a few different ways you can answer this question. You can simply start with minä olen, I am, and then add your nationality. For example, minä olen amerikkalainen, I am American. Minä olen amerikkalainen. Just replace amerikkalainen with your own nationality. Here are a few more. I'm German is minä olen saksalainen. I'm Italian is minä olen italialainen. I'm Russian is minä olen venäläinen. Here's another way you could answer. Start in the same way, minä olen, and then add the case sta to the end of the name of the country you're from. This would be the same as simply saying I'm from in English. For example, the word for France in Finnish is Ranska. To say you are from France, say minä olen Ranskasta. Here's another one. Australia in Finnish is simply Australia. To say you are from Australia, say minä olen Australiasta. To keep the conversation going, you can ask your friend entä sinä, which means how about you? Now it's time for Paula's points. There are some irregularities with conjugating the names of the countries. For example, if you would like to say I'm from Russia, instead of minä olen Venäjästä, you would say minä olen Venäjältä. Also, I'm from England would be minä olen Englannista instead of minä olen Englantista. This also applies to other countries ending with a lanti, such as Skotlanti, Scotland, and Islanti, Iceland. In the last lesson, we were practicing how to use the verb olla while talking about nationality. This time, we will be using the same verb but for a different purpose. It can also be used to tell where you are. For example, I'm at school or I'm at work. So when you want to know where someone or something is, you use the verb olla. For example, when someone asks you on the phone, missä sinä olet, they want to know, where are you? Let's break it down. Missä means where. I'm sure you already remember the word sinä, you. Olet is the conjugated form of olla, are or to be. Altogether, mistä sinä olet? Missä sinä olet? Answering this question is as easy as the asking was. You just say, minä olen, and add the place where you are. Minä means I, and olen is olla conjugated for minä. And finally, the place where you are. For example, minä olen kaupassa, which is I'm at the store. Minä olen kaupassa. Now let's see a few other possible answers with I. I'm at a restaurant would be minä olen ravintolassa. I'm at the gym would be minä olen kuntosalilla. I'm on a bus would be minä olen bussissa. Again, the topic of the case of the noun comes up. When you are talking about your location, you add sa or la to the end of the noun. But how do you know which one to choose? The basic rule is to use sa when you are inside and la when outside. For example, talossa would be translated as in the house and talolla at the house. However, it can change according to the context. Now it's time for Paula's points. Sometimes when talking about locations, you can hear the verb sijaita being used. It literally means to be located. So imagine being in Helsinki and wanting to find a street named Mannerheimintie. You can ask a passerby, anteeksi, missä Mannerheimintie sijaitsee? It would mean, excuse me, where is Mannerheimintie located? In the last two lessons, we learned the main usages of the verb olla, which means to be in Finnish. In this lesson, we will see another situation when it is commonly used, when you're talking about your age. If someone asks you, kuinka vanha sinä olet? They're asking, how old are you? Kuinka vanha sinä olet? Sometimes miten is used instead of kuinka, but it has the same meaning. Miten vanha sinä olet? So how do you answer? This should be no problem at all, since you have learned both the numbers and the olla verb in previous lessons. Let's put your knowledge to use. Here are some examples. I'm 18 is minä olen 18. I'm 20 is minä olen 20. I'm 35 is minä olen 35. I'm 50 is minä olen 50. And so on. This sentence follows the exact same pattern as in the previous lessons. Do you still remember? Minä olen means I am. Olen is the conjugated version of olla. We learned about numbers back in lessons 6 and 7. The sentence can be simply used as such, but if you want to emphasize that you are talking about age, there are a few words you can add to the end. One way is to add the words vuotta vanha, which literally means years old. Minä olen 20 vuotta vanha. I am 20 years old. Minä olen 20 vuotta vanha. Another handy word would be vuotias, which basically has the same meaning. Hän on 5-vuotias. He is 5 years old. Hän on 5-vuotias. Now it's time for Paula's points. What if you aren't really that eager to tell your age? Don't worry. Many Finns, especially girls, throw the ball back to the asker by saying arvaa, which means guess. If the guess goes horribly wrong and you still don't want to reveal your age, you can brush it off by saying se on salaisuus. That means it's a secret.
Want to speak real Finnish from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at finishpod101.com.
Päivää, minä olen Helen. Hyvää päivää ja tervetuloa. Minä olen Liisa. Hauska tutustua. Hauska tutustua. Mitä tämä on? Se on suolaa. Entä tämä? Se on sokeria. Hyvä. Nyt tarvitsen vielä teetä. Sitä on tässä. Kiitos. Saisinko maitoa? Ole hyvä. Kiitos. Otatko salaattia? Kyllä, kiitos. Onko tuo omenaa? Ei, se on päärynää. Saisinko lisää sitä herkullista mustikkapiirakkaa? Totta kai. Ole hyvä. Kiitos. Otatko myös lisää vihreää teetä? Ei kiitos, mutta saisinko mustaa kahvia?
Tiedätkö, missä sininen mukini on?
Se on keittiössä.
Missä päin?
Kuivauskaapissa.
Siinähän se on. Kiitos.
Eipä kestä.
First, you'll see an image and hear a question. Next comes a short dialogue. Listen carefully and see if you can answer correctly. We'll show you the answer at the end. Are you ready?
Mies ja nainen puhuvat. Mitä he aikovat tehdä ensin?
Mitä haluat tehdä tänään?
Haluan mennä katsomaan elokuvaa.
Okei. Minä haluan katsella pesäpallopeliä televisiosta.
Lisäksi haluan mennä ostoksille.
Pesäpallopeli alkaa kello 13.
Okei, no mennään elokuviin ensin ja sitten voit katsoa pesäpallopeliä.
Hyvä on. Sitten menemme ostoksille illalla.
Mitä he aikovat tehdä ensin? Mies ja nainen puhuvat. Mitä he aikovat tehdä ensin?
Mitä haluat tehdä tänään?
Haluan mennä katsomaan elokuvaa.
Okei. Minä haluan katsella pesäpallopeliä televisiosta.
Lisäksi haluan mennä ostoksille.
Pesäpallopeli alkaa kello 13.
Okei, no mennään elokuviin ensin ja sitten voit katsoa pesäpallopeliä.
Hyvä on. Sitten menemme ostoksille illalla.
Opettaja ja opiskelija keskustelevat. Milloin opiskelija menee opettajan toimistoon? Minä en todella ymmärtänyt kaikkea tämän päivän oppitunnilla.
Aivan. Onko sinulla yhtään kysymyksiä?
Kyllä, minulla on aika monta. Onko sinulla nyt aikaa?
Olen hiukan kiireinen nyt. Tule toimistooni iltapäivällä. Olen siellä kello 1:00 kello 4:00 saakka.
Selvä. Tulen sinne 2:00. Milloin opiskelija menee opettajan toimistoon? Opettaja ja opiskelija keskustelevat. Milloin opiskelija menee opettajan toimistoon? Minä en todella ymmärtänyt kaikkea tämän päivän oppitunnilla.
Aivan. Onko sinulla yhtään kysymyksiä?
Kyllä, minulla on aika monta. Onko sinulla nyt aikaa?
Olen hiukan kiireinen nyt. Tule toimistooni iltapäivällä. Olen siellä kello 1:00 kello 4:00 saakka.
Selvä. Tulen sinne 2:00.
Want to speed up your language learning? Take your very first lesson with us. You'll start speaking in minutes and master real conversations. Sign up for your free lifetime account. Just click the link in the description.